All right, here we are on lesson 3 homework question number 1, and I assume at this point that you know when we start a proof we need to write down statements and reasons. So I've already done that, and if you haven't done that yet, pause the video, take a minute, and write down your statements and reasons chart and put your givens in there. And so I'm going to get started with given number 1. Given number 1 tells me that triangle ABC is isosceles and angle A is the vertex angle. You should be able to identify the base angles if A is the vertex angle. And so the base angles would be at C and B, and we can name those as two congruent angles. So that's what number 3 is going to be in our statements. Angle C is congruent to angle B. And I can just say angle C and angle B and not have to use 3 letters because at C there's only one angle and at B there's only one angle. All right, I also know that if a triangle is isosceles, it has congruent sides. And so my two congruent sides are side AC congruent to side AB. And for both of these, I'm using this word right here. And it's a definition of, and so you can write that as your reason. And I'm going to go on to the next step. My next step is to deal with my next given. And my next given is that D is the midpoint of BC. And if D is the midpoint of BC, that means BC is cut into 2 congruent parts. You should be able to name the 2 congruent segments that are formed, with D being the midpoint of that segment. And so it would be these 2 segments. You're going to list those right here. A segment congruent to a segment. And your reason is definition of midpoint. And then I think I'm ready to prove what I'm trying to prove. The only way that we know how to prove things right now is this, side, angle, side. And so hopefully we can see that we have a side, an angle, and a side congruent to a side, an angle, and a side. And so your statement number 5 will use that method of congruence.